Hello YouTube, this is Hunter Surge. We're doing Vanguard again today. I've had a little frustration with the Buddyfight Collab, and it's the general assessment of Zanya as a deck. From the moment Zanya was revealed, there's been an assumption that Zanya is the most vulnerable deck in the collab to deck out, which has not been true at all in any testing I've done with the deck. So today, I was very happy to see some cool results from a WGP Sendai. So we're going to talk about that. When the Buddyfight Collab comes out in English, I do plan on doing videos on all of the Buddyfight decks, particularly in the context of the Buddyfight special tournaments. Talk about what the options are there, the strengths of each of those decks in that context, and in the general metagame. But Zanya is one I like personally a lot because of its defensive nature. It has some really, really cool defensive tools that really sets it apart from what any other deck in Vanguard is able to do right now. It makes it very unique and really sets it apart in a way that none of the other Buddyfight decks have. None of the other Buddyfight decks are able to compete in normal Vanguard on the same level as the top meta threats. Which is why, the best you see is the Suku, which has, the third best output, realistically. However, unlike Tetsuya and Kyoya, it doesn't auto-lose to Vergilla. But Zanya has always stood out to me as, it has some power issues, very similar to the ones that DZBTO1 dolls had, but it does have ways around it. And the defensive tools it has are actually much stronger to what dolls had at that time. And particularly right now we're in a metagame that's particularly vulnerable to those specific tools. So I felt like if any of the Buddyfight decks really could make a name for themselves, it would make a lot of sense for it to be Zanya because it has those super unique tools that just nothing else is able to do. So let's get into those, let's look at those results. So here we are on the Japanese Vanguard Twitter. And here's the results from WGP Sendai. So we're seeing some normal stuff. Remember, when you're looking at these rankings that they put up here, this is the rankings after Swiss. This isn't the final rankings after Top Cut is concluded. So we have some normal stuff in the XOs. We've got Vergillas, we've got Bav. Reziol has been showing back up since it got that new grade 2 in the new set, which has been pretty cool. And also Neptune's Order is probably helping quite a bit too. I believe it won WGP Korea, which was also this weekend. We've got Bav, we've got Vice, we've got Vergilla, we've got Harleru, we've got some Avas, all the normal stuff you would expect to be seeing. We've got some Token Rambu showing up. Vagria. We've got Astashin, we've got Minerva, we've got Bat starting to show back up as people figure out how to make it work with the new grade 2. Unfortunately, we've got the Elder Conus with some tops here too, and then we have right here on the 9th place seed we have this team with the only Buddyfight top in the event. It's Zanya, baby. This is not when a rogue deck tops out of nowhere like this, there's always a question of, did they get carried? And there is a Bat on this team, but there's also a Token Rambu deck on this team with no other representation. I leave things up to Toyo to figure out what the hell is going on with Token Rambu, because I'm not reading these cards until we actually get any English confirmation that we're getting them. What I've heard through the grapevine is that Toyo sees this as an okay deck. Bat is here. Make no mistake, Bat's here. But it's hard to argue that it's hard to argue on face value that this is a team where Zanya just gets carried, right? We don't have the record, so it's always going to be up in the air when that happens. But I don't think it's a useful assumption to make, especially when you look at the team and it's there's no meta decks on this team. So, And yeah, there's Bat. But like Bat, I would not consider Bat to be like a meta deck again yet, because like we don't see it on any of the EXO teams. I would not be surprised to see it get back there as people figure out the new grade 2. But I would not place it there yet at this moment. So yeah. So let's tap through this list. So we have the Token Rambo list here. We'll just tap through these real quick. We have the Bat list, obviously, on 3 of the new grade 2. It can start in Perfect Guards, which I'm not a huge fan of. One of the big weaknesses I appreciate about Bat is I couldn't run Perfect Guards. But now I can. And then here we have Mr. Zanya. Here he is. Here he is. So, what really struck out to me about this list, and what made me want to make a video about it, is it's actually doing a lot of things that are they're not obvious things to be doing with Zanya. However, they are a lot of the things that me and Chang have concluded about how to play the deck after doing a bunch of testing with it. So point number 1 I want to make is that the Buddy is Suzuki Kage. However, that's not uncommon to see. However, what you typically see when people are buddying Suzuki Kage is they're also running 3 in the main, because Suzuki Kage also gives you a really strong turn 2 play. However, this is a trap. This is not something you should really be doing. You are effectively just wasting deck space, because like you are already not committing to the turn 2 Suzuki Kage play. Because you don't have 4 in the main, and you have reduced the likelihood of you seeing it on turn 2. And at the same time, you are now in a scenario where, once I see one, I don't need any more Tsukikages, so all these extra Tsukikages are useless. So like the way I've come to see it is that there are 2 options for buddies in Zanya. You either buddy Tsukikage and run no copies in your main deck, thereby saving a bunch of main deck space, or you buddy Gojin Maru and max out on Tsukikage to maximize the chances of hitting the turn 2 play. The latter has a risk of, if I just don't see Tsukikage, my deck sucks. But that's not terribly likely to happen. You have a lot of dig, so like it's not super likely that that'll happen. One Gojin Maru is pretty risky. I've got to say, that's a really risky gambit there that I'm not sure I would be on board with. I would probably be running at least 2. But it's like fine. Then the next thing to point out is there's no Shiden in this list. And that's because Shiden's a trap. Shiden is such a trap. It's crazy. It's crazy how much of a trap Shiden is. So me and Chang still have 1 to 2 Shidens in our lists. However, Shiden is not really there for his effect. He's there because we need another booster. So like, to shore up the power issues that Zanya has as a deck, one of the best things you can do is make really good use of Tsukikage SD, because Tsukikage SD is able to shove itself into the soul of any ninja, and then while it's in its soul, as long as your opponent's at grade 3 or greater, it's giving plus 5k power and plus 5k shield to that card. So if you shove Tsukikage SD into the soul of every card on your field, you get plus 20k across the board, and it helps shore up your power a lot. A lot. And like, you don't really lose much on card advantage from that, because Tsukikage SD also is like pay 1 gauge, call it a Byakuya SD when you call it. So like, you immediately get another body on the board before putting this Tsukikage SD into something. So you're not actually losing out, which is really, really great. Fantastic card. Shoving into Byakuya SD is pretty common, because that makes this an 18k booster. Wow, this deck would so appreciate a restanding booster. Like, that's top of the list of things I would like the deck to receive if we get a second Buddyfight set. But yeah, there's no sheet in here. Which, like, the issue you can run into is because you're shoving Tsukikage SD into the soul of everything, if you damage 2 Byakuya SDs, you're not going to have enough boosters. Like, even if you damage 1, you have 2 Byakuya SDs on the field and 1 in the soul of a Gojin Maru. You still don't have enough boosters to populate your field. So having 1 or 2 Shiden in the deck, it can be nice so that you have enough boosters. But, like, this is another one of the things that, like, indicates, like, the skill and nabbing of this player, because, like, you look at Shiden, it's like, oh, obviously we run this card. If we discard the discard fodder with this, we draw 3. That's crazy, right? But, like, your card advantage is good enough as is. You have some really powerful tools regardless of that. And going 2 in on that is exactly how you deck out. So, yeah. Next from that, we want to talk about Akishoki. So, Akishoki is a card I dismissed early on. But as I started playing with Buddyfight, the reality of playing with Buddyfight is that discard fodder becomes way, way, way more important. Because you not only have your discards for writing up, you also have your charge and draws, which are effectively discards. So any amount of cards you can get that that will, like, help you break even on those discards is really valuable. So, like, ninjas already have one of those cards in Byakuya SD, because if you discard Byakuya SD and you have a Tsukikage SD, you can immediately call back out the Byakuya SD and get some good value. But Akishoki is an order that you play from your drop zone by paying 1 gauge, and you draw a card. Then you take a Thunder Mine card from your deck, put it into the drop, shuffle your deck, and then if you have 3 more damage, you get to draw an additional card. It's pretty strong, especially for those early game turns. Pretty great card that I have landed on fairly recently, and it's been working out very, very well for me. And then one of the biggest standout things that's, like, very not obvious to be doing is this list is on 7 fronts. And that is, Chang sold me on this, and I found it to be quite good as well. The nature of the deck and the reality of its numbers is that fronts just end up just, like, a bit more valuable than crits overall for this deck. So you actually want to go heavier on fronts than you do crits. Also worth noting that the effect you get from Geppetogiri is a pretty solid effect. I really don't mind having this effect in my deck, to be quite honest with you. Having that sort of spot removal just access to is so nice, because it means, like, you're against Bav. You get to go, okay, you must now replace your Yugama shots. Like, you just get to target down any specific problem card and remove it from the field. And having access to that is, like, it's one of those things that sets Dragon Empire decks apart. Like, it's something that's really, really valuable to have in the current format, where, like, there's very few decks that are miraging their boards, and, like, even fewer of the meta decks able to, like, consistently get back those key pieces. Like, there's key pieces that decks have that they just don't have a means to get back. So, like, that sort of spot removal is very valuable, and that's part of why Hades Fall is really good. And yeah, of course, this deck is on 4 Snake Gaze, because here's the reality. Every meta deck, like, okay, so, like, DZ10 changes this a bit, but, like, most of the strongest decks depend on restanding rear guards to get additional attacks, to do their big pushes. And the reality of that is, Snake Gaze becomes a perfect guard in that scenario. Snake Gaze is not only a perfect guard in that scenario, it's a perfect guard that you can play out Shinobi Scrolls, of course, but it's also a 15k shield on the current attack. Like it's like those old perfect guards that were, like, those G era perfect guards that were like, oh yeah, this, you don't have to discard, or you just draw a card immediately after discard, because you're just stitching the 1 to stop that future attack, and then if you actually block the attack that's currently coming at you, then you haven't actually spent 2 cards on that future attack. You've only spent 1 because Snake Gaze itself is a 15k shield. So it's that's one of the big standout things about Zanya that has access to this. For Hades Fall is so good too. It's really good at just like stuffing out any big combo decks by going like, okay, you're against the Anorn Masks. You go, okay, I'm gonna Hades Fall turn 1, put in a grade 1. I'm gonna Hades Fall turn 2, put another grade 1. Every time you try to put a Rosarium on the field, it's dying. You better be able to field like 4 Rosariums. And also, I still have Snake Gaze. I still have Snake Gaze. Like that sort of defensive utility is. Oh, I'm peeking. That sort of defensive utility is just something that no other deck in the game has access to. Nothing is able to do that. Nothing in the game is able to do that. Zanya is. It's a really big sets it apart thing that the deck has access to. Gojimar itself is not really vulnerable to removal because it has double Soul Guard, which is really great. Yeah, like this deck is awesome. This deck is awesome. And like at a certain point, like, one of the things that helps Zanya avoid deck out is that Zanya himself, importantly, Zanya himself has a Soul Blast 1 effect to charge 3 gauge from the drop zone, which means you get to continue paying your gauge costs without continuing to charge and draw, or just take cards out of deck for, like, other charging effects. Very good for avoiding deck out. Likewise, Tsukikage's Grab 2 is able to pull from drop zone. So once you hit a certain point in the game, you just start going, okay, I'm just going to grab everything from drop zone and not take stuff out of my deck, so that I don't deck out. Because of things like that, this deck is very easily able to avoid those deck out scenarios. It's very awesome. It's very cool. Deck's great. I like it a lot. Like it's still just a rogue deck. It's still just a rogue deck at the end of the day. But like, you should not be calling this the worst Buddyfight Collab deck. You should not be saying, "Oh, this deck just dies to deck out," because that's just not the reality of the deck. And I would like this was awesome to see. One other thing I do want to touch on is the choice of Regalis piece, Gradius Gradal. This is something I've been avoiding doing in my own lists, but like there was this itching at the back of my brain that was going, I think Gradius Gradal is correct. Because this deck does, like, Persona Ride is really important for this deck. That is the reality. And you want, like, games can go along with this deck because of how defensive it is. So, like, having access to an additional Persona Ride is really great. And just, like, a tiny bit more Persona Ride consistency can be really important. So it's just a thing of, like, yeah, like, it's not pretty, it's not as generally powerful as Fire Regalis or Twin Cast, but it probably is correct. Now, like, I will talk about this again when the Buddyfight Collab comes out, but for the Buddyfight Special Tournaments, our current understanding of that rule set is we can't use nationless cards from outside of the Buddyfight set itself, which means we can't use Gradius Gradal or any Regalis piece for that matter, which kind of sucks. But the bigger loss is that we are forced into using the Buddyfight Overtrigger. So if you are considering Zanya for those Buddyfight special tournaments, this is something that you should definitely be thinking about. Because the Buddyfight Overtrigger gets you back a normal order, which is pretty solid. Lets you get back the discard fodder card. That can also get you back a ninja, which is a pretty awesome card. It also lets you get back the trigger orders, doesn't it? I think it does. I think it does. Yeah, it can. I'm pretty sure it can also grab back normal order, the trigger orders, which means you can grab back. Let's look at this a bit more closely, real quick. No, they're not normal orders. They're trigger orders. Okay, so they're not normal order type, and like the the Buddyfight over trigger does specify normal order, so you can't get back the triggers. Also, like one other thing to touch on about Zanya in general is that this perfect guard, this Blitz perfect guard, is so strong because it's just a G or a perfect guard. You just get a card back after ditching for your perfect guard, and like the only reason you don't max it is because you have to keep. Despite the fact that you get to use 2 Blitz orders a turn, you want to keep access to be able to use Snake Gaze open to you. So, like, yeah. Also, Snake Gaze is a perfect guard that you can get back with Zanya's effect. It's so crazy. It's so strong. It's so insanely strong. Like, oh my god. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Yeah, the defensive backbone of this deck is so incredibly strong. It was so exciting to me to see, oh, this is a Zanya deck that's like not like it's figured it out. It's figured out how to build it correctly, and it's really awesome to see. Now, like what I was saying about the Buddyfight over trigger is that because of that, Buddy Tsukikage actually becomes significantly weaker, because then it's like, okay, so the Buddyfight over trigger gives a crit to your Vanguard and then a crit to your Buddy monster. So it really wants you to be building your deck in such a way where you have your Buddy monster on the field in your attack pattern. And for that reason, you kind of have to be buddying Gojin Maru if you want to take advantage of that over trigger. Now, like, this is something that I think you, as potential Zanya players, will have to test. Is losing that crit from the over trigger worth the strengths of the Buddy Tsukikage build? Or do you find it like you don't lose enough from going with the Gojin Maru build, and thus, okay, we can get full benefit out of the over trigger? That's a decision that you will have to come to in your own testing as you prepare for those Buddyfight special tournaments. It is something I will definitely be testing out and figuring out for myself. But with that said, I was so excited to see this. Yeah. Do not, like, it's like I knew that, like, it was probably good enough to succeed in the Buddyfight special tournaments, but seeing it be good enough to succeed in, like, the general meta after someone has figured out how to properly build it is so exciting. Very, very happy to see this. I love defensive decks like this, and I'm really, really excited to play this deck when it releases in English. Alright, that's going to be it for me. This is Hair Surge, signing off.